ladies and gentlemen, today we're talking about censorship in video games, okay? This is a topic that I've seen a lot of people talk about lately, and I don't know if a lot of people are very aware of it. I might be in just a little circle of people, but I think a lot of people should be made aware of this. If you have no idea what's been going on over the last month or so, there have been some major video game websites like Steam and itch.io that have removed not safe for work games from their platforms because they've basically been pressured by the credit card companies, but it is being stated that the credit card companies are being pressured by a collective movement called, or I should say a grassroots movement called Collective Shout. I don't know what Collective Shout has on these credit card companies, but they're able to essentially force them to make people, make other companies or whatever bend the knee and be like, hey, we don't like this, so we want you to take it off. And at first, there was a game called No Mercy, right? This is the first time I heard about this, but I didn't really pay any attention to it because I thought maybe it was just like a really crazy, obscene game that Steam decided like, hey, we don't want that on our platform. Maybe it had some more risque stuff that I didn't really know about. I'm not shocked. There's been plenty of times that games have been removed for Steams or whatever, for whatever reason, and then they've been brought back. So I don't really pay attention to it. Usually games that get banned get more recognition because they got banned. So I thought it was something like that. But apparently this No Mercy game was really frowned upon or whatever because it had things like SA in it and like violence against women and stuff like that. So not really good stuff, obviously. And I don't mean to downplay any of that. I'm just trying to get the information out there. Those are all very serious things, but this is also a video game. It's a work of fiction. There are plenty of games that have violence towards all genders. And yeah, so that was the first time I heard about it, but I didn't think anything of it. And then recently, I heard that Steam banned other games for having stuff like incest or I don't know, there was some other things. Like there's like a list of things that they banned them for, but that was like one of the biggest ones. And a lot of people would be like, yeah, that should be definitely banned. And that's when I heard about it too. I'm like, that's weird because like there's a lot of those kind of games on Steam. And now they're gone. They've been delisted. And so that was the first time I was like, okay, that's interesting. Because I know personally, once something starts getting banned, then like it slowly starts creeping into other things. Because what ends up happening is, one, the people that find out that they can ban stuff are like, what else can we get away with? What else can we ban that we don't like? And then obviously the people that have been slighted, like whether that's devs or creators, sometimes often come out of spite and being like, yo, our game has this, but how is it any different from this, this, and that? And then usually people don't roll things back. They just make stricter rules. And so what ends up happening is they're like, okay, if you say your stuff is similar to this game, we're going to ban that game too, whether that game had the same things or not. And it just adds on to the censorship list. And again, things usually get stricter and stricter. They don't get more lax. So that is the biggest problem here. So again, it had those kind of like, a little bit more taboo, insane things that people may be interested in. And so I think a lot of people would probably agree like, I don't care if those are taken away. But then itch.io came around. And I know of itch.io very well because for those of you that have been following me for a long time, I used to play a lot of spicy games back on my old YouTube channel. And I used to use itch.io because that was a great website that allowed developers to they're like, hey, if you can't afford our games, like just pay whatever you want or just download them for free to try them out. And if you like them, how about you pay for us? Like you pay us later. I always thought it was a really good model for games. And it's usually basically think of like Steam's early access. A lot of people were just like, yeah, just download our earliest version here or our latest version for free. And it was a really cool thing to see like devs put stuff out there and you could literally see how these games were changing over time. And I thought it was pretty cool. So I used itch.io a lot for these spicy games. And so I was very aware of the website. And what happened recently was that the whole website has delisted all of their not safe for work games. You cannot go search for those games anymore. There are still like background links. I mean, I actually think if you have the links to those websites or the pages to those games, they're still there. Because I went to go check my account because my account had like some stuff because I actually did support some of the devs on there back in the day. And so I still see the pages, but it's not there on the front. Like you can't search for it and all that stuff. So they have also bent the knee like Steam did when it came to some of these games. But now, instead of just like, oh, hey, this game has X, Y, and Z, they just annihilated the whole not safe for work section, which I think is a very dangerous thing to do. Look, you don't need to agree with these kind of games. Like, I don't play them, so I don't give a shit. It's not going to stop there. Like, I will say, if you want a bigger, better creator that talked about this too, go check out the Moist Critical video. He talks about it. He makes a lot of great points. And one of the biggest points there was a lot of the wording that this collective shout campaign, again, they're the ones that are behind this that are apparently pressuring like Visa and MasterCard and they're basically snitching. They're like, hey man, we know of these games that shouldn't be games, man. And they're telling MasterCard and Visa that like, hey, you shouldn't support this, so like you should make these companies bend the knee to you. And that's what's happening because obviously Steam and itch.io want the two biggest credit card companies involved in their websites because that's how they make money. Everybody, buys the Steam summer sale and all that kind of jazz because they have their cards set up to their accounts. And if the two biggest people in the world get eliminated, then that's going to be millions of dollars lost for these companies, and that's why they bend the knee for this censorship stuff. But like I said, in that Moist Critical video, he talks about where does it stop? Where is this gonna stop? Because censorship only gets worse. Like I said, they only add things to the list. They never take things off. And he was talking about how under the terms of like, oh yeah, this involves women being hurt. And like, dude, I highly suggest you go watch that video because he talks about how Collective Shout is really putting out the things, basically saying like women shouldn't be main characters in these games. Women shouldn't be getting hurt. And, basically games should only involve men. And I don't know about you. I don't want to play a bunch of games that just involve men. Okay. I like seeing pretty ladies in my video games. Okay. I'm a big fan of Zenless Zone Zero and Genshin. So, me, Gooner games. I like me a good Gooner game. And so, but I also like the Tomb Raiders. I also like all these other badass games that come out that have badass females in them. But under this whole Collective Shout censorship stuff, women shouldn't be people. Women shouldn't go through hardships, and we shouldn't see women in violence or anything like that. That is what they're getting at. And again, Moist Critical says it way better, so I highly suggest go watch that video. I'll link it in the bottom. But he also makes some other points of like, this is getting to the point where if these credit card companies can actually tell us what we can and cannot buy with our money, where does it stop? Because like, obviously they're going to keep going after sexual stuff, right? He says like, what if somebody wants to buy a big old dildo? Like, is that going to be like, nope, you can't buy that. Sorry, we don't allow that. That's not something you can do, even though you're going to do it in the privacy of your own home. Like, what's going on there? Like, you know what I mean? What if a gooner wants to go buy a big old sex doll? You know what I mean? They're like, oh yeah, can't buy that. Sorry, you can't buy fake ladies like that. Sorry, you're not going to do that. Where does it stop? Is it, oh, we got to eliminate, like, oh, you used your credit card to support OnlyFans models? Nope, you're gone. We're not going to support OnlyFans anymore. And by the way, this tried to happen to OnlyFans a while back, and that's why OnlyFans was saying, like, we're going to be family friendly, which was the stupidest thing they ever did. And look at all the backlash they got for a little bit, and then everybody, once they reverted it back, things were going. And also everybody was making millions of dollars over there. So I don't think MasterCard and them really cared at the end of the day because they were getting, all the transaction fees from it. But there was that, right? Like they tried to make it happen with OnlyFans, and it's only going to get worse. It's going to, depending on what state you live in, you're already getting restrictions on this kind of content already. You have to sign into VPNs to sign it unless you want to give up your age and stuff like that. It is getting a little ridiculous. We are starting to live in an age where people who think they know better are starting to police what we can and cannot enjoy with our own fucking money. Granted, a lot of us don't even have a lot of that, and now they're saying, now with the little bit of money we have, they're telling us what we can buy. And I think that's fucked up, and I don't agree with censorship. I don't care if people agree or disagree with something. Like, I've always been of the mind of, like, if I don't like something, I won't spend my money on it. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do anything like that. So you're not going to catch me spending money on alcohol, stuff like that. I also think that stuff is bad in the long run for a lot of people, but I don't care if people enjoy it. That's their life. They can do whatever the fuck they want. You know what I mean? But I do have an issue with people pushing their views and what they think is right onto other people. Because if you really dive into this, a lot of your favorite games are going to be wiped off the map of the earth. Are going to be, that kind of makes sense. They're going to be wiped off the face of the earth. Last of Us wouldn't exist under this shit because they also don't want like games that have like children in like bad situations or children in violent situations and stuff like that. Where again, you think it sounds good, but they're not coming at this from a good place. They're not trying to do this. It is all about power. And the easiest way to get people to feel sorry and like, oh my God, this is bad, is they always go after children. We're trying to protect the children. They're not fucking trying to protect the children. They just want power and they want people to do shit their own way. So pretty crazy stuff here. But again, I don't think it stops with this video game stuff. I don't think it stops with not safe for work stuff. It's eventually going to come after different video games. It's going to come after, any kind of game that might involve a child in I think they, I don't know if it was actually Collective Shout, again, Critical talks about this in his video, where they tried to go after Detroit Become Human, which is a fantastic game, but they said the little girl in there is distressed and like, oh, that game should be taken down. They also tried to go after GTA because you could beat up women in that game. You could also beat up men in that game. Everything you can do to a woman in that game, you can do to a man. So like, it's really just stupid shit that they're just trying to control the masses with what they can do. And again, I think if we start seeing this kind of stuff continue to get made or continue to get pushed and continue to get censored, it's only going to creep in and they're going to add more stuff to the list. This is going to start affecting manga. Like, dude, if you are an anime fan, how many shows involve some of your favorite characters are young looking people that are like, freaking My Hero Academia are probably wiped off the face of the earth because it's all younger people getting into fights. We get to see a lot of people in Attack on Titan, one of the greatest shows. We see what happens to them when they're young. They're in distress because their freaking families are being eaten by titans. Can we not watch that anymore? You know what I'm saying? Like, they will just constantly try to take what they can. And I think people need to understand that this is a big problem. And it's something that we should be paying attention to and not just be like, I don't pay attention to that, so who cares? But yeah, I don't know. I really think this is something that's I've been watching a lot of coverage of this. I feel like not enough people are talking about it. Obviously, I don't have a big platform, but I do think every kind of video made about this, whether it's one person that didn't know about it, gets made aware of it, I think it's important. There is a change.org petition that I will link in the bottom, in the description. Feel free to sign it if you want to look into that kind of stuff. I don't know how well those petitions actually do, but it is, I think, nearing 100,000 signatures already because they're trying to, get some people to respond to it and whatnot. So if you like to do that kind of stuff, I'll link that in the bottom. But yeah, I just wanted to bring this to your attention because your boy used to play these kind of games, if you remembered, on the old channel, whether you like that content or not. I thought it was fun, silly, dumb, you know what I mean? And I would call out the weird stuff in those games, but I also knew that they were things of fiction. They weren't real. They didn't involve real people. And if we can start policing fiction now, I think we're going down a very, very terrible path. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in that world. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one.